Hi everyone and welcome back to the Crafty Yellow Camper, and today I've got an easel fold card for you. I've used the deckled rectangles. As soon as I saw these dies I thought they'd make a really good circular card. It's not very often we have dies that are this big. In fact, I think these are probably the biggest that we've had in a long time, and I haven't used the biggest. They do make a great, actually I say I haven't, I have. I made a new baby card using the biggest ones, but it was for a friend's daughter and I forgot to take a picture of it before I delivered it. Well, gave it to her to deliver. So I have used these biggest ones, and they do fit in a 6x6 square envelope once it's made. But for today, I've made a smaller version using a different stamp set. So this is 1, 2, 3. This is the fourth circle down from the biggest. And I'm going to show you how I've used that to make our card base. So this is the card we're going to make, and I'm just going to move that out of the way a little bit. So what I've done, this is Parakeet Party, another one of the colours that's going to be retiring at the end of the month, unfortunately. I've taken half an A4 sheet cut across the width, so that's 14.8 by 21 centimetres. If you aren't in the UK, half of whatever your standard size sheet should work. And actually, I think letterhead is very slightly bigger, so that it might actually work better. And then I've folded it in half, which would give us a normal C6 card blank. And then what I've done is I've taken it to my cut and emboss machine. I've used, as I said, the fourth from the biggest, and I've cut it. If I lay that back on, you can see I've cut it, but I've left a gap at the top here. Now, to make an easel card, you need a fold, otherwise your card is just going to be 2 circles. So I don't normally leave this much of a gap. I normally would have it much more like that, but I needed to get it out of this size of card, and we can cover it up, it doesn't matter, you're not going to see it when you put the easel front on. So that's how I cut the base. So this bit can be discarded for now, although I will use that later. And this is now our card base. So it looks like a figure 8 when it's opened up. So I'm just going to pop that die back in there because I know what I'm like and I'll end up knocking it on the floor. So what we do with an easel card is we have to fold the front part of the card in half. So I use the sides to line it up. And this is what's going to make the easel. So I'm just going to bring my bone folder in and give that a good score. So that is going to be our easel, part of our card. But this is going to be covered up. So, well, most of it anyway. So what I then did, I've then got several other pieces here. So what I then did was I used the next 2 circles down for this. So I think, yes. So I then used the next, so this will be the 5th from the biggest, and I cut a piece of basic white with that, and that is going to layer up on there like that. And then I used the next one down and I cut another piece of Parakeet Party. Okay, so that's that. So let's put those 2 together, and then I can get these dies out of the way. I'm just going to slide those in so you can see when they're all together. Look, they're 3 going down concentrically. Right, so first things first, we're going to stick our Parakeet Party piece to our white piece, and I'm using Tombow for this. Okay, so that's that. And it's more or less impossible to line these up so they match. And I'm not being that fussy. So we're going to have some other images on there. Then what I did was I cut another another circle of the smaller size, the same size as the Parakeet Party inner circle, but in basic white again, and I cut it in half because we're going to need somewhere to write. And I've just realised I've picked up a few dusty bits, so I'm just going to get rid of those. So we're going to need somewhere to write inside our card base, so we can stick that in as well. So this is basically a semicircle. So this is the smallest circle and it's a semicircle. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that inside our card And that's going to sit in there like that, so that when we open up the card, try and get it straight. When we open up the card, we're going to make a stopper, which is, so we're only going to see this bit. You could, oh, that really isn't straight, is it? You could, this is why I use Tombow. You could cut a whole circle and then just cut the top off here. So, so it would go on like that, and you just have to slice a bit along the top. But, you know, we don't need a whole circle. So we're going to leave it like that. Then what I've done, I've bought in a new stamp set. So this is an online exclusive, and it's called Encircled in Nature. I've had this a little while and I really, really liked it, but I haven't had a chance to play with it. So you are my guinea pigs. It comes with a really nice set of dies, which I'm just trying to put them all back on so you can see them. It's actually a double set of dies. So you get 2 sheets of dies. And, oh, lost my big tree there. Just caught that. Yeah, so these dies, some of them go with the images and some of them are standalone dies. So in the images, you've got this sort of twiggy branch, and these dies here cut that out inside and outside, and that's why, I don't know if you can see that, there are little tabs on these. So when you've worked out where it goes on the outside, you can line it up on the inside by putting the tabs together. And then there are these lovely little oak leaves. There's some flowers, some trees, and some sort of fronds, pine fronds, needles. And then there's this lovely one with the little sort of buds on it. And then there are dies to cut out. Does it? No, they don't cut the tree. Oh no, what do they? Ah, because I'm on here, isn't it? They cut the flowers like that. Yeah, I think that's about it actually for the dies that cut the images. And then you've got this, I'll put them back in there. You've got this, oh, there is a die to cut this tree. So there's die to cut this tree, die to cut these flowers, and then you've got these sort of fronds and these trees that will fit in round, and then some other little leaves, and this really cute little moon and stars, which you could stamp. I mean, I could stamp that up there, and I might still do that yet on the one we're making this time. Only just noticed that. As I said, haven't had a chance to play with it. So I think this would be a really good one for all year round. I mean, you could make Christmas cards with it, men's cards. The one I've made today, I've not really made it in Christmassy colours because I don't want it to be a Christmas card. I want it to be a man's card. But yeah, at Christmas time, if you did this in the sort of traditional Christmas greens, lots and lots of possibilities. You've also got some really nice greetings. So you've got here for you, may this year be incredible and filled with possibilities. You mean so much to me. A huge thank you. And I really like this sort of scripty font as well. So I was really pleased with that. So what I've done is I've actually used the outer die of this one here that's meant to cut the tree ring, if you like, the piece of branch. So I'm just going to pull that off there. That's a decent size and it fits really nicely in there like that. So I could just stamp it on there, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stamp it on our white piece. Now, as I said before, with those deckled dies, it's almost impossible. Need a bigger block. It's almost impossible to line things up unless you do them and then cut them. So I could have stamped this and then cut it with this, but we're not going to really see the branch bit down the bottom. So I'm going to ink it up, and it's one of those ones where you need to go to the stamp with the ink pad rather than going to the ink pad with the stamp. And I'm using crumb cake. So it doesn't really look like there's a lot of ink on there, but there is enough. Now, I'm just looking to see which side I'd like to have at the top. Now, there is a gap in this. There's a gap there. So I'm going to get that at the bottom because I want more of the branch to show at the top. Oh, push that up and hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So I'm not too worried about the bottom because we're going to cover most of that up. So I'm just getting that nearer the top, and we are going to cover most of the top up, to be fair, as well. But I just wanted, oh, I've made a real pig's ear of that, haven't I? Yeah, let's turn that over and try that again, shall we? It's really difficult actually when I'm trying to film because I can't get my head in there, so hence there are always two sides on a piece of cardstock. I'm just going to get rid of that ink. Okay, so oh, goodness me, baby wipes stuck into my fingers. So let's try that again. So we're keeping our gap at the bottom where we can cover it up, and I'm just coming down slightly. Hopefully that's better. Yeah, there we go. So we've just got a little bit of that tree trunk round there, which is all I need. Okay, so what we're going to do with that is that's then going to be stuck on here, but I want most of the branch, this piece here, round the left. So, you know, I've made a right pig's ear of doing that, and I should have stamped it and then tried to cut it out with the dies, but, you know, it's late. It's late, I'm tired. And sometimes I need the easy way out. Okay, so that's getting stuck in the middle there. Now, I have gone ahead and die cut all our bits and pieces. So, we have these cute little trees. We've got a tall tree. We've got a frond. And we've got some of these little trees. I think I got a little bit carried away with those. And I've just realised the only thing I haven't die cut are the oak leaves, which we're going to make our stopper with. So you may have to put up with me while I go off and do that. Now, the other stamp I wanted to use was this, this one that goes around the circle with the trees on it. One of these actually almost looks like lavender on that circle. That was why I had my smaller block out. Now, I'm going to stamp using Parakeet Party, so we're keeping all the colours the same. Get the stamp up the right way. Now, this time you can take the stamp to the ink pad. Okay, and we're just going to stamp that very slightly inside. So I'm picking my best place because until we attach this to the front of the card, I've got the options of turning it round. So I think what we're going to do, I'm going to go there, I think. I'm just going to stamp that in like that, just on our white piece. I'm just going to close that ink pad up because it's very green. As you can see, I'm very green. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is add these pieces on. So some of these pieces are too small to have dimensionals behind them. You'd have to cut quite small pieces. So with this one, I'm going to glue it on. And I'm just putting little dots of glue using my Tombow on the back, and I don't want it to squidge out, so I'm being careful how much I put on. And on these kinds of cards, you don't really need to stick every single particle down. Okay, now we're going to put this sort of across a bit more, so having that stamped image on the back sort of gives it the gives it a bit of fullness. So although we're covering half of that bit up that I've just stamped, having it there sort of gives us a little bit of fullness. And then this tall tree can go on with dimensionals. Now, I always encourage people to use up the bits and pieces of trimmings of their dimensionals. And you end up with a sheet. Sorry, I just speared my tweezers. You end up with a sheet that sort of has all these edges on. Just find them on with, I had one here a minute ago. Do you know what? Every time I do a video, here it is. Every time I do a video, I lose my dimensionals. Okay, so this one's got a few more edges on, and you can see where I've cut. So you can use, these are Teflon scissors, and you can use them to cut tiny pieces, which you can then make fit your tiny things that you want to stick down. So I'm just using a couple of little pieces across the back here. You can even chop them smaller. Ooh, do you have to watch when they disappear? Okay, so I'm just going to put that piece on the top of the tree there. Okay, so hopefully you can see what I've done. So again, I've used my edges and just, so that means that I can pop this up a little bit. Now on the first card, I had it over to the right hand side. This time I'm going to put it over to the left hand side, and don't forget we can go off our smaller piece of white, so long as we don't go off the bigger piece of white, because that's going to stick over the edge of the card. Okay, and then I've just got this other little group of 3 trees here. I'm just going to add those on. So it's just really a matter of playing and sticking them down where you fancy them, really. That's what I like about these kind of sets. There's so many possibilities. Okay. And we're going to stick this one. This time we're going to put this one down here. Just trying to make sure they're straight. And with these really tiny fiddly little ones, you might have to hold them on there for a little while. And then the last thing I've got is this piece of sort of pine cone frond. So I wanted to show you the dies for those. So you get 2 on 1 die. So these are the pine cone fronds I've used. That tree does not want to stay on there. And then for the stopper, we're going to use these oak tree pieces. So I'm just going to pull that off there. You will have to just bear with me while I go and quickly die cut those. I thought I'd done enough, but there's a little trick I want to show you for this. So I haven't. Okay, so what we're going to do, this is going to just go round on this side. So we've covered up nearly all of that stamped branch. I just wanted that image around the edge. Okay, now I'm just going to have to quickly die cut these 2. So talk amongst yourselves for a second. So these are brilliant for using up all your scraps. So where we cut all those circles out of the piece of half a sheet of cardstock to make all the layers and the actual card base itself, then these bits are perfect for using up the scraps. So I've just run that through, and you can see it cuts 2 at the same time, which are obviously quite labour saving. They are a little bit delicate, so you just need to be careful when you pull them out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue them together, because they're not really, I could put dimensionals on the backs, but they're a little bit fragile to use as a stopper as they are. So what I'm going to do is use my trusty Tombow. And I like it when we get things that are symmetrical like this, because it does make it easier to layer them up. And then, so I've got one way, because it cuts one going that way and one going that way, which is perfect for joining them up. Now, it doesn't really matter if it's not perfectly matched, because it will just give you that impression that you've got more than one branch, but I am going to try to get them fairly well lined up. Obviously these are quite bendy, and again this is when it's handy using liquid glue, because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. There we go. And just by layering those 2 up, so you can see we've got the embossed side one side and the embossed side the other, by layering those up it just gives it a little bit more strength to act as our stopper. So the next thing, while they just dry off a little bit, the next thing we're going to do is attach our front to the card. So the important thing here is to just put glue round the bottom and make sure you've got it level. So it's a bit like giving it a Pac-Man smile. There we go. Just a little bit of glue around the bottom, and then that is going to stick onto our card base. And obviously it's sticking over the fold, which we want it to do, and we just want it to stick to the bottom half of that card, so when we stand it up it isn't stuck down flat. Okay, and then we're going to use our oak leaves, and I'm going to put some bits of dimensionals on the back of these. And again, I'm using the edges because I can get those smaller. So I think we'll have it going that way. Yeah. No, I'll put them this way. So they're just going to go on the back. That's the bit I've just cut. Go mad. They're going to go on the back of the oak leaves so we can't see them. And we need a few little tiny pieces. And because we've stuck the leaves together, you can put one on each leaf. So I'm basically just using the edges of the dimensionals, waste not, want not. And I've put one on each leaf because we need this to stay flat. I just need one more piece. Okay, so you can see that I've got just little pieces of dimensionals on each leaf. So I'm just going to take the backings. Now, generally speaking, I'd use something a bit sturdier for a stopper. But other than the greeting and then fussy cutting a greeting out, there wasn't really anything big enough. Okay, so what we're going to do is that's going to be stuck across there like that, so that our card edge will tuck nice and neatly behind it. Okay, so let's bring the other card back in. Move my dimensionals out of the way, and my scissors and the ink and everything else on my table. Right, there you go. So there are our two Deckled Circle easel cards using the Encircled in Nature stamp set and the matching dies. As I said before, they're an online exclusive, so you can hop onto the stampinup.co.uk and have a look at the online exclusives. You can either order direct from them, or you can contact myself or your local demonstrator to order them. Okay, and keep an eye on the website because they launch new online exclusives and new kits on there quite regularly. Okay, that's it for me for tonight, and I'll see you all again soon. Thanks for watching and bearing with me because that was quite a long-winded card, and happy stamping. Bye for now.